Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfick Farzan. It's the 1st of August 2025. Now today was the day that reciprocal tariffs by the US, specifically announced by US President Donald Trump, were to come into effect. Now just last night, that's Thursday, in the United States, US President Donald Trump, through the White House, issued a new notification with regard to the US reciprocal tariffs on imports to the United States of America. Now what's this story? US President Donald Trump announced amended tariff rates for dozens of countries that will take effect on the 7th of August. Now Trump signed an executive order that modified tariff rates for dozens of countries after he had twice delayed plans to implement reciprocal tariffs on other nations. The executive order states that all imports will face a 10% tariff. The order goes into effect at 12:01 a.m., 7 days after it is signed, which would fall on August 7th. Now, some nations, including Sri Lanka, have negotiated separate trade agreements to lock in tariff rates. And therefore, the United States has officially announced a reduction in import tariffs on goods from Sri Lanka, lowering the rate from 30% to 20%. The decision follows a series of bilateral trade negotiations between the Sri Lankan government and the Office of the United States Trade Representative, or USTR. The new tariff rate is part of a broader executive order signed by President Donald Trump, which includes tariff revisions for 40 countries. This move marks a significant shift from the previous tariff rate of 44%, which was imposed on the 2nd of April. Following diplomatic efforts and trade discussions, Sri Lanka successfully negotiated a reduction to 30% and now further to a 20%. Government sources in Colombo indicated that multiple rounds of discussions were held in recent weeks to secure this latest concession, which is expected to provide relief to Sri Lankan exporters and boost bilateral trade. Now, the White House says US President Donald Trump signed an executive order to increase tariff on Canadian goods to 35%. In a statement issued Thursday evening, the White House said the new tariff rate, set at 25% since March, will rise effective Friday. Now, quote, Canada has failed to cooperate in curbing the ongoing flood of fentanyl and other illicit drugs, and it has retaliated against the United States for the president's actions to address this unusual and extraordinary threat, says the statement, unquote. However, Canadian goods that meet the terms of the Canada-US-Mexico agreement will not be subject to the tariff, which means the vast bulk of Canada's exports can still cross the border tariff-free. Now, the European Union says it remains steadfast in its belief that trade is a powerful engine for development, poverty eradication, and job creation. This was said by Carmen Moreno, the EU ambassador to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, during a recent address at an event organized by the Center for Law and Security Studies.
We were born as a trade union, so we believe in the power of trade to uplift countries by integrating them in the international market. And we believe in the power of trade to eradicate poverty, create jobs, and uplift communities. Therefore, we are the biggest contributor to aid for trade to developing countries. We provide, the European Union and the member states together, we provide 50% of the global aid for trade around the world. And as many should know, we have opened our markets to developing countries in a total unequal basis. We don't request the developing countries to open the markets for us through the very famous GSP Plus scheme is one of them, EBA, everything but arms, for the less developed countries, and GSP for majority of countries. These are also subject to conditionality, like the free trade agreements, that the country who receives this privilege of accessing the market duty-free and quota-free has to respect international conventions, labor standards, and environmental regulation. We know that the post-war order and the assumption that open markets will deliver shared prosperity for all has eroded. I'm not going to say it's over, but it has eroded. And today's world is marked by a systemic rivalry, weaponization of interdependence, especially in finance, energy, and data, and a strategic competition over critical resources and technologies. And in this environment, economic policy becomes national security, and strategic autonomy is a vital necessity for Sri Lanka also. we continue to defend the importance of trade and investment as catalyzers of growth, and especially for developing countries. Revenue cannot be taken from tariffs only. Relying on excessive tariffs and protectionism is not the way. You have to attract investment, and this requires openness.
Now, you might recall that since the economic crisis took effect in Sri Lanka, multiple sources of or multiple avenues of resource management took place. Now, one of that was related to fuel. Now, throughout the past 2 years, Sri Lanka introduced a fuel price formula that comes into effect every month based on the global fuel prices. Now, for this month, there is going to be no revision. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation has announced that there will be no revision in fuel prices for the month of August. According to the CPC, fuel prices are typically reviewed monthly based on a pricing formula. However, the corporation confirmed that existing prices will remain unchanged throughout August. Now, you might also remember that recently Sri Lanka had one of the biggest elections in its history, the local government elections. The Ministry of Provincial Councils and Local Government has confirmed that administrative power has been established in 336 out of the 339 local government bodies across Sri Lanka. According to Deputy Minister Ruwan Senarath, the formation of councils in Sitawaka and Anamadua has been delayed due to the absence of a quorum, while the Wanatha Villua Pradesha Sabha remains pending due to ongoing legal proceedings. The National People's Power, or the NPP, has emerged as the dominant political force, securing control of 224 local authorities. The Samagri Janabala Vega, or the SJB, follows with 36, while the Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi has taken control of 33 councils. Other parties that have secured control include the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Lanka Labour Congress, Podujana Eksat Peramuna, and the United National Party. Now, in the most recent local government elections, members were elected to 339 local bodies. The ministry also announced that 23 billion rupees has been allocated to accelerate development activities in these local authorities. And now moving on to something about passenger safety. The National Transport Commission has announced that the law requiring passengers to wear seatbelts on public transport services operating on expressways will be enforced starting today. NTC Chairman P.A. Chandapala stated that while the rule comes into effect immediately, it will become mandatory from September, giving passengers and operators time to adjust. The initiative is aimed at enhancing passenger safety on high-speed roadways. In a parallel move, the Ministry of Transport and Highways confirmed that all passengers seated in the rear seats of light vehicles travelling on expressways are now legally required to wear their seatbelts. This regulation is part of a broader effort to strengthen road safety standards. Authorities have instructed both the police and expressway management officials to strictly enforce this rule. Now, if you are looking for a weekend getaway, this story is for you. The Department of Railways has announced the launch of a new luxury train service named the Alla Weekend Express, operating between Colombo Fort and Badulla starting August 16th. The new service is being introduced in response to growing demand from both local and international tourists seeking a comfortable and scenic travel experience to Sri Lanka's hill country. The train, equipped with 350 seats, will depart Colombo Fort every Saturday at 5:30 a.m., reaching Badulla by afternoon. The return journey will depart Badulla every Sunday at 9 p.m., offering passengers a convenient weekend getaway option. And finally, the third Kumbal Perahara of the Kandy Asala Festival is set to parade through the streets tonight, continuing the sacred and vibrant traditions of one of Sri Lanka's most revered cultural events. The second Kumbal Perahara took place last night, beginning at 7:01 p.m. with the procession moving northward from the Sri Dalada Maligawa, or the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic, under an auspicious time. The sacred relic casket was majestically carried by Singharaja, a tusker belonging to the temple's elephant stable. Other notable elephants in the procession included Koche Raja from the Koche Raja Mahaviharya and Pulatisi Raja, also from the Dalada Maligawa's elephant group. The streets of Kandy came alive with vibrant traditional dance performances, drummers, torch bearers and cultural pageantry, captivating thousands of spectators. The Asala Perahara, held annually in honor of the sacred tooth relic, is a symbol of Sri Lanka's rich heritage and spiritual devotion, drawing both local and international visitors. And with that, we wrap up this morning's Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfick Farzan. If you want more details on the stories that I just brought to you, do visit our award-winning website, that's www.newsfirst.lk, and also visit our social media handles on Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, as well as TikTok. And also subscribe to our WhatsApp groups and our WhatsApp service, where we bring all these stories in detail to your palm health devices. Until I meet you again on Monday morning, have yourself a wonderful weekend.